great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome to another episode of the Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so thrilled to have each and every one of you here with us today. Whether you're tuning in for a dose of inspiration or just a moment of calm, you're in the right place. Before we dive into today's episode, just a quick reminder. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to tap the screen, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us to connect with more amazing people like you. We'd love if you'd give us a follow and subscribe to our channel. And be sure to turn on your notifications so you never miss out on our latest content. And while you're at it, swing by our website at selfcareclub.org. We've got some awesome affirmative apparel, motivational merch, and a bunch of free resources waiting for you. It's all about empowering yourself and embracing your journey, and we're here to help you get started. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together.
In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Welcome in, Janelle. Shanty, I see you. Wonder Woman, hey. Hey, girl, hey. I see you, Shan. BK, I see you. Welcome in. Also, you guys, if you've entered the room and I have not greeted you, be sure to throw some green hearts in the chat so I can see you. I see you. That's all we want out of life, right? Is to be seen and heard. Let the world know we were here. Ain't that right, big dog? Morgan, welcome in. Ruffman, I see you, bro. I think I said Janelle, but hey, girl, hey again. Never too much loving for my people. All right, you guys. So, our quote of the day. I want y'all to add this to the chat for me. The quote for today is, the most beautiful stories always start with wreckage. The most beautiful stories always start with wreckage. This quote serves the idea that the most beautiful stories in life always start with some sort of mess, some sort of disaster, right? And I know that this might sound a bit strange, even daunting, right? But y'all just stay with me, okay? There is such a profound truth and a beautiful concept, tied into this. Rich Rising Sarah, welcome in. Hey King, Top Cat, I see you. Think back to a time in your life where everything seemed to be falling apart. Maybe it was a breakup, a loss of a job, a job that you really, really depended upon. It could have been some sort of personal crisis that you were experiencing that, left you questioning everything. Coco, welcome in. Kale, I see you. And in those moments, right, where we just seem to be questioning everything, not understanding what our why is, why something's happening, what took place, right? All of these things going on. In the midst of those moments, it feels like our world is just crashing down on us. We are literally wondering, what do I do next? How do I survive? How do I live without this person? How do I provide without this job? Right? What will life look like now? I don't know what to do. I don't know who I am. And so the chaos surrounding all of this can be very overwhelming. And, the pain is sometimes unbearable. And often in those times, our future all of a sudden now seems uncertain. Things that we were confident about, things that we knew before, all of a sudden we're questioning every single thing that happens. Right? But here's the magical part in all of that. That wreckage, that disaster, right? That chaos that seems so unbearable is often the starting point of something so extraordinary. I tell you guys constantly, my reminder to myself in life is this tattoo that I have right here. It's an ambigram, which means it's a dual tattoo. If you look at it, one way it says something, and if you flip it upside down, it says something different. And when I was in the pits of hell in a situation that I was experiencing in life at the time, the season that I was in at that time, I didn't understand where to go, what to do. But I had enough guidance to understand that there is something so beautiful that's going to come from this disaster. And so I have the ambigram tattoo here, and if you're, standing in front of me, you would just see the word beautiful. But if I was flipped upside down, you would see the word disaster. And so that's just kind of my reminder of how amazing life is. That even though we get tested and tried, and in those worst moments, in those moments where we really just don't know what's going to happen next, there's something beautiful that's going to come from this. There's something so extraordinary that is going to be built from the ashes of every single thing that has happened to destroy and to tear us down, that we can still create something so beautiful. And in the heart of the wreckage, we often uncover our deepest strengths. We discover who we truly are once we start stripping away all of those pretenses, and we're forced to confront our vulnerabilities. Sometimes we have to get knocked down on our behinds for us to really stop and pay attention and to understand what the bigger meaning is, for us to understand what our purpose is. What's the point, right? It's in these raw, unfiltered moments that we really find the courage to start to just let go of the things that no longer serve us. And we begin to open ourselves to new possibilities. I've shared with you guys the story as far as me leaving corporate America. I was in a comfortable position. I was making great money, working from home, had been there for almost a decade, and so I was just comfortable. But I did not enjoy my job. I did not enjoy the position, right? Over that decade, I've had multiple positions, all of which that I enjoyed better than the last. But the only reason I didn't really enjoy the last one was because my skills weren't being utilized. I was being undervalued, not fully appreciated, not being celebrated. It just didn't feel good, but I was comfortable, and so I wouldn't leave. So I tried to make myself happy by supplementing other things to serve me, right? I started pouring into my cup more. I was, being very intentional about my self-care. Thank you, Perk. And then all of a sudden I had to say, you know what? This isn't it. I started opening up to them at work, letting them know I'm not happy. This doesn't feel good. I don't like this. Only to still be pretty much ignored. Still undervalued, still unappreciated. And so, and all of a sudden, I got notification that my position was being eliminated. Which, of course, makes you feel underappreciated, undervalued, replaceable, right? Anytime you're working in a position and they say, we're just eliminating it. So you mean to tell me that I've been doing a job for the last 3 years that y'all don't even need somebody to do? Because you're not replacing me, you're just erasing me. And so I internalized that. And I'm saying, Dad, here I was thinking that I was a key player, right? I thought I was a key player. And all of a sudden, I realized I'm I'm more replaceable than I thought. And I understand that to an extent, everybody's replaceable, right? But it doesn't feel good when you recognize that you're erasable. You're going to eliminate my position. That undoes all the hard work that I've done over the last few years. But it was in that moment I started recognizing the God that I serve has more for me, right? And so I think at that point that God was just like, listen, girl, I'm sick of you, and I'm sick of you being disobedient because I told you I got something else for you to do. And you keep complaining about not being able to fully walk in your purpose, yet you keep chasing this job. You comfortable, you got to get up, right? So I think that is why I had to get knocked down and my position needed to be eliminated. Hey, Cookie. You know, so God didn't want me to feel like, you know, oh, there was someone better than me to take over that job, right? So he didn't want to replace me. He wanted to erase me from that job. Greenbeard, welcome in, bro. He needed to erase me from that job. He needed to say, it's not that I want somebody else to fill your shoes. I want you to understand that there's no one to fill your shoes. We don't even need you here. You're no longer being served here. There's nothing else that we want you to do here. We just want you to go, right? So God was just like, listen, girl, we finna erase this position. And at first I took it as a bad sign, and I was like, dag, you know, making me feel a little less than, knock me down a couple pegs. But then all of a sudden I was like, hold on, this is the best thing that could ever happen. Because it's not that I feel like anybody's better than me. I just know that I'm better than this. Because God isn't going to take something from me, you know what I'm saying, that's not for me. What up, Jess? Hey, cousin. Right? God's not going to take something that he designed for me. He's going to take something away so I can focus on what he has designed for me. So me losing that job in December has been the best thing ever. Because then all of a sudden I had the freedom as well as the flexibility to truly walk in my purpose. I started full-time life coaching. I started full-time pouring into my content. You know, I went to my husband and I was like, babe, you know, I'm losing my job. That's half the income in this house, babe. And he's like, yeah, it's cool, no problem. You can focus on your business. I'm thinking my husband about to be like, oh, what do we do? My husband was like, yeah, cool. Come on now. Yes, Jess, yes. Don't be nervous. You feel the fear and do it anyway. Cause fear, false evidence appearing real. Okay? You're going to feel that fear. You're going to do it anyway. I have been working my own business since January the 1st, 2024. I have been a full-time life coach and a full-time content creator. This is August, 8 months in. I am still paying all the same bills that I was paying prior to me leaving. I have more time for myself. I am happier. I get to spend more time with my family. In addition, my household has multiplied. We went from 3 in our family to 6 in our household, where we have a toddler. We got a 2-year-old in this house now. And then we have my mother-in-law who has dementia that I am blessed enough to be in a position to care for throughout the day. I have a job where I can work from home, that I can still be a blessing to people, that I can still help people, and I can still pay my bills. My husband gets to go to work and be relaxed and at peace knowing that his mother is at his home, right? That his mother is in our home being taken care of by his wife. Right? If my niece needs someone to watch the baby, she is comforted knowing that her daughter is at home with us, safe, sound. I go to bed every night knowing that the people that I love are right here under my roof. You see what I'm saying? So it's something about understanding that when we are in the mess of our lives, that there's something so beautiful that can be created from it. You know, and I share experiences and stories with many of you, and I know that a lot of you have gone through some hell in your life, right? Because that's part of the human experience. We all have to have some messy things. But I know for a fact that many of you have mentally and physically and spiritually created something so beautiful. But you had to go through that mess. We had to get through that mess. You had to get your heart broken in order to understand what that feels like, so you knew what real love was, right? So you could get that relationship that you really deserve. So you could get that man, so you could get that woman. You had to get through the little boys and the little girls of life. So that way you were mature enough to handle what God had for you. So again, it's always in the heart of the wreckage that we uncover our deepest strengths. But at first, again, the universe has this way of stripping away all of the pretenses and forcing us to confront our vulnerabilities. That is when we truly find the courage to let go of the things that no longer serve us. The things that we've gotten too comfortable with, right? We keep backsliding and going back to the same experiences, the same people, the same job, the same situations. And the universe is like, you're getting on my nerves. Like, I've got something for you. I need you to stop moving back. Welcome in, Jamie. Hey, T. Chauncey. Right? So when we begin to reflect on these things, we find our inspiration. We find the will to keep going. Right? And you know, we've also got to think back to, you know, other stories, right? Other people's stories, not just our own, right? I need to live through your experiences. Even books that I've read, movies that I've watched, TV shows that I've watched, stories that I've heard about other people, right? I need to be able to reflect on these experiences as well, because the most compelling stories usually begin from some form of destruction. Think about your favorite movies, right? These stories, even for those of you who are into like Marvel characters and things like that, right? There has to be some sort of wreckage. Everybody has a sad story. Y'all watch American Idol, right? Every single time you watch these superstars in the making, everybody has a sad story. Everybody has something that they have gone through or that they are currently going through that is all of a sudden fueling that fire. We all have pain that we can turn into passion, right? And so again, you know, it's through these trials that we emerge stronger, more resilient, and begin to really truly transform into who God is calling us to be. You know, consider the metamorphosis of a caterpillar, right? Before the caterpillar can become a beautiful butterfly, it has to go through a process of complete transformation. Complete transformation. You know, in its cocoon, it essentially dissolves into a formless, gooey state, right? It's messy, it's uncertain, but it's essential. And without this transformative phase, there would be no butterfly. And our lives are similar to that. In our lives, we have to embrace the mess. We've got to embrace the uncertainty. Like I told Jess, we got to feel the fear. We got to do it anyway. We got to be unsure of how things are going to work out and just know it's going to work out. I'm a butterfly ready to take flight. Okay, I might not be pretty to look at right now in this cocoon, but baby, when I spread my wings and fly away, y'all gonna see me. And there are no two butterflies that look the same, right? So even though y'all in y'all's own cocoon, and I know at some point y'all all gonna take flight as well, we're not the same. We might be headed to the same place. We might be off in the same direction. We might be going through the same process or a similar process. But again, my life is mine to experience. So it's important for us to embrace the mess, to embrace the uncertainty, because these are the conditions to which we grow and evolve. That is how we continue to show up every day, growing through the things that we're going through. And so, you know, I'll share a personal story with you guys, right? I use myself as a living testimony. And so many of you have heard this before. You know, there was a time in my life that I felt completely lost. Hands in the chat. Anybody else can relate? Can you guys think of a time in your life where you just felt completely lost? You're like, I don't even know what's happening next. At that point, we like, Jesus, take the wheel, fix it because I'm tired. We over here like, truth is I'm tired. Right? We tired. Hey, Jordan, Miss Ladylike, welcome in. So there are periods in our life where we just feel completely and utterly lost. At this particular time in my life, I had just gone through a breakup, right? A painful breakup. A situation that I never felt was going to end, okay? My career seemed to be at a standstill. And at this point in my life, with this breakup, with everything surrounding this breakup, with work, with my family, with my friends, every single thing that was going on in my life at this point made me question my purpose. Right? At this point, I was even, that was the first time in my life that I was truly even questioning God. Like, why do you have me here? What do you have me doing? How dare you bring me this far and just leave me? Like, I felt like I would look back. It's like the footprints poem, right? I looked back and I no longer saw his footprints in the sand. And so for me, I'm like, how dare you bring me here and leave me? The audacity of you, Lord. This is where I felt in my life, And so I was truly questioning my purpose. What was the reason for all of it? I felt like I was drowning in a sea of uncertainty and doubt. It was messy. It was uncomfortable. I didn't like it, right? But it was also a turning point in my life. Because in that chaos, I was able to find my strength to reevaluate my life. Okay. I was able to begin to strip away all the things that weren't working for me. Right? I was able to shed so many layers. And I began to rebuild from the ground up. Because at this point, I didn't have anything left. So I thought, right? I had been stripped away to just the bare essentials, the bare necessities. And at first, when I looked around, I was like, I ain't even got nothing to work with. Like, how am I supposed to pick up the pieces? I don't even see the pieces. The pieces have been destroyed. I'm looking around and it's just space over here and space over here. I don't even know what to do. Everything that I had spent the last decade working for was gone. I've left this relationship. I've, had to move out of a home that I spent time, taking care of and cultivating physically and mentally, right? I had to let go of all of that. And then, move back into an apartment. Now, for those of you who have ever had your own home, whether you rent, buy, whatever, right? When you go from having apartments your whole life, and then you get a house. So now you've moved on up like the Jeffersons, right? And then something happens and it causes you to lose this house and you got to go back to an apartment. You feel a little disrespected, right? It's something about it. We feel like we're moving backwards. So I, at this point, had 2 houses, but now I got to go back to an apartment. And I'm going back to this apartment without the person at that point that I thought was the love of my life, right? I thought it was a knight in shining armor, and he happened to be made out of aluminum foil. It was a whole shitty decade, y'all. But so I lost this relationship that I definitely needed to lose. Whew, amen. But then I had lost my house and I felt horrible, right? Then leave my house, move back into an apartment that I didn't want to be in. Wasn't ideal, but it was what I could afford. Then I lost my job. So thankfully I had moved into that crappy apartment because it was all I could afford, even after I had lost my job. But so I look around and I'm like, I don't even have anything to work with. This is trash. This is crap. What am I supposed to do now? How do I start over again? And so, it was in that situation, I realized if nothing else, I had the space to rebuild, right? I had room to rebuild. I had the opportunity to begin to learn what I like and what I don't like. So as I stepped back out there into the dating scene, I knew the signs of what I just left, and I knew I didn't want that. I knew I didn't like that. I knew I didn't want to settle, and I knew I didn't want to be uncomfortable. So, if nothing else, I had the space to rebuild. Losing my job allowed me to go back to school. So then I began educating myself. I began growing again, right? All of a sudden, I had to go back into my cocoon because I knew that I was supposed to be a butterfly. I knew that I was supposed to be able to grow and prosper and spread my wings. Welcome in, Wanda, Mr. Awesome. You're so awesome. Right? So I knew that there was something more for me, but I didn't have time before because I was hiding in somebody else's shadow. So now all of a sudden that I stepped out of this man's shadow, I got out of this house and I shed away all the things that was what I thought I needed and wanted. When I went back to the bare necessities and what I could afford in life. And I hope y'all picking that up, because when I say what I could afford, I'm not talking about money. I had money saved. I had a support system. I'm not talking about money. See, I couldn't afford that abusive relationship. I couldn't afford those toxic friendships because that wasn't for me. Whether you want to say it was above me or beneath me, I couldn't afford that. So when I say afford something, it doesn't mean that I didn't have the finances to do it. It just meant that that wasn't for me, so I couldn't afford that. And so it was when I finally got back to myself, went into my cocoon, I started to recognize that those things aren't for me. Because if they were for me, they'd be here. If that man was for me, if that woman was for you, they'd be here. Because what's for you is for you. We know that, right? So that toxic relationship, that abusive relationship, you know, those toxic friendships, those weren't for me. That's why those people aren't here today with me. They might be somewhere out there in the world. They're just not here with me. Welcome in, Style. So again, you know, looking back, I can see that that was one of the most beautiful chapters of my life. And yes, I'm talking about getting out of a 10-year toxic relationship. I'm talking Ike and Tina level abuse. But when I look back now, that was one of the most beautiful chapters of my life. And I know so because I'm still here today. I'm in a happy, healthy, loving marriage, not just relationship, right? See, that knight in shining armor who happened to be made out of aluminum foil that I gave a whole decade of my life, as ladies say, I done gave him the best years of my life. He done took my whole 20s, y'all, right? My youth. All of that I gave to him did nothing but show me who I really was as a person. Built me into the wife that I am today. For the man that I love, right? I had to go through that hell to understand what this feels like in order to be set up for this comeback, for this marriage, for this relationship. Because I couldn't afford those things before. But now, I got time today. I can afford this. I could do this all day. Thank you, Shan. Right? Like, I could do this part all day, every day. Because all the hell that I went through in my past, these last 45 years of my life, have been the setup to today's story. The story of survival. The story of success. The story of winning. And so it's something that we have to begin to normalize is reminding ourselves that it's okay to feel lost. It's okay to feel confused or even broken at sometimes. We all go through it. None of us are exempt. Again, it is part of our human experience. All of these feelings and emotions are part of our journey. They are the fertile ground to which our growth and beauty begin to emerge. When we allow ourselves to sit with the wreckage, to truly experience the mess. Sometimes, y'all, we got to get down and dirty and play in the mud and the dirt of the mess. we gotta make a mess, right? When we really, truly sit with it and experience it, we start to open ourselves up for the transformation. Embracing the messiness of life is an act of courage. It means that we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. It means that we're allowing ourselves to acknowledge our pain, admit that we've been hurt. We talked about that, right? Because we can't heal if we don't admit that we're hurt. We've got to begin to trust the process of healing, trust the process of growth. You know, it's about finding beauty in the cracks and the crevices, in the imperfect, in the unfinished. It's about recognizing that our scars tell a story of survival. Our wounds, our pain, tell the story of resilience, our transformation. So the next time that you find yourself in the midst of wreckage, remember this: it's not the end of your story. It is just a chapter. In fact, it's just the beginning of a new chapter. So I again encourage you to embrace the mess. Lean into it. Have fun with it. And trust that from this mess, from this wreckage, from the ruins, that you will emerge stronger, wiser. Because the most beautiful stories are born from mess. And your story is one of them. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed our time together, please be sure to give me a follow, subscribe to our channel, so that way you never miss out on the latest content. And don't forget to visit theselfcareclub.org. We have affirmative apparel and motivational merch, including music, as well as a treasure trove of free resources waiting just for you. So whether you're looking to elevate your self-care game or you just want to find some extra inspiration, we've got you covered. Thank each and every one of you for being here and being an active participant in our Self-Care Club community. I am truly excited to connect with each and every one of you again during our next podcast. But until next time, I encourage you to keep breathing, stay positive, and remember that you are always supported here. Don't be afraid to take up space and make a little room for you to breathe. I pray that each and every one of you have an amazing day on purpose, filled with purpose. And I'll see you guys next time.
I found my